guys, it is Tristan with Nerdette's NewsStand, and I want to talk about the season finale, episode 9 of the Watchmen HBO series by Damon Lindelof, and I have reviewed every previous episode, so I will put that in the link in the description. But I want to talk about, okay, so when you actually have read, the Watchmen, you all kind of take away your own themes, and I think that's exactly true with this. There was two main themes that I personally took away, and I am going to do a deep dive video into this season as a whole, as the podcast, the PDPDS, so I'll probably talk about it more in detail then, but as far as what I can see is this is an entire series, and this, episode is no different. The two main takeaways for me when it comes to, themes or plots or whatever you would like to say is, create something beautiful. And I talked about that more in I believe it was my episode 8 review when I talked about love and the creation of life. And, when you're given a blank canvas and said, create something beautiful, and you're not an artist, what do? Well, in Manhattan's, world, he created life. So the other main theme, which really, really cemented itself in this episode, was metaphorical and physical mass. So when I first started this channel, I don't know if it was my naivety not to hide my face and my name, or if it was me wanting to remain true to myself and not wear a metaphorical mask, but I never thought there was a need to, because I always felt like what I had to say was enough. Well, we see people hide behind masks, whether it is, like in The Watchmen when it's real and it makes men cruel, or whether it's, people on social media that hide behind their keyboard as their metaphorical mask and it makes them cruel. And I don't want to spoil too much towards the end, but I do think when it comes to the mask we wear, we wear them all the time. And if you don't let them air out, you'll never actually be a good, compassionate human being. So we'll get more into that as I review the episode. But don't forget, if you are new to the channel, to hit subscribe. As always, if you enjoy this video, hit that like button. Like I said, I will put the previous reviews in the description. And if you want to help support the channel, there are links in the description. But leaving a like, a comment, everything. I read every single one of my comments. So I appreciate every single thing you guys do for me. Let's talk about this episode. And this might get a little long-winded. I apologize. That's why I'm splitting it up into 2 videos, where it comes into a review of the season finale and then a deep dive as far as plot devices and stuff go. So, we open up, and it is 1985, and Ozzy is recording his message to Robert Redford. You can even see the squid behind him, and I love it so much. So, there is a Vietnamese cleaning lady, and she is, walking in to clean Adrian's office and locks the door behind her. Totally, not up to anything at all mischievous. She gets onto his computer, opens up, the lock on the computer, or the password rather. I'm old. Forgive me. There is a Alexander the Great painting, and it opens up, and we see vials of Adrian's let's just call it his seed. And she takes it, and it is Beyond. So it is the clone version of what we're going to see here in a little bit. And she artificially inseminates herself, hence the birth of Lady True. Like, she gets way too much pleasure out of that. But it's such a good twist. I love it. So we switch to a few years back, and we see Lady True, and she is walking up to Karnak. Like, the only person that literally just walks up to Karnak. And Adrian is initially pretty rude until she kind of strokes his ego a little bit with a squid hoax. And she explains, he explains the interrogation of the cephalopods as far as into the atmosphere. And Lady True kind of calls it a rerun. She explains why she's there. Essentially, it's to borrow $42 billion to build a machine to destroy Dr. Manhattan to save the world, she says. By destroying nukes, ending starvation, making clean air, stuff like that. So, she wants to do what she thinks Dr. Manhattan should have done. But then she drops a bomb. She's his daughter. And obviously, we just saw why. But then he drops his own bomb. Well, it's impossible because Ozzy is a virgin. Which is kind of funny because we did see, like a little bit in the graphic novel, little shots taken at him possibly being a homosexual and stuff, but he's a virgin. And oh my god, you psychos. I was joking last night. I was not virgin shaming him on my community post. I've just never seen one before in real life. I'm totally kidding. I'm sorry. I'll stop. I'll quit. I swear. Okay, I was kidding though, but for real. So, I guess Rorschach wasn't quite correct on his assumptions, but he was close. I mean, he's asexual. So, True explains that her mother's story, what she did, that she was technically a thief, and Ozzy, explains his own, but ends by saying, I will never call you my daughter. Oh, cruel, right? But then we switch to Ozzy on Europa, and he is in his cell, and everything kind of starts shaking, and we see a spaceship land, and we see that horseshoe we saw before, where he was digging out at the post-credit scene. He was able to Shawshank himself all the way through and actually escape from it. Like 90 years old, dude, but sure. So, until the game warden walks up. He is literally walking to the spaceship, and the game warden shows up, and Ozzy refuses to stop. Well, when he refuses, the game warden shoots him, but Ozzy catches the bullet just like we've seen before, when Laurie shot him, but it was pretty fucking, actually, for live action, I think they did just as good a job as when we saw it redone in the Zack Snyder movie, which I still love. I still do. So, Adrian does kill the game warden, but, relating back to my point in the beginning, the game master asked, basically, why he made him wear a mask compared to the other clones, and he says, because masks make men cruel. And he's right. Like, he needed an adversary, but, if you have complete anonymity, you can say and do whatever you want without any personal responsibility, and that's kind of what he was giving him in a weird way, but he just really wanted an adversary. But, the game warden does die, and Adrian says goodbye to all of the clones and boards onto the ship. And as he's leaving, we see in the atmosphere, when before we weren't sure what it says, we do know for sure that it said, save me, daughter, and it is written in bodies. Well, I mean, we knew that before, but I still find that very, very funny. So, to preserve him during this journey from Europa to Earth, he is to step into a cryogenic chamber, except for it's not done with cryogenics, it's done with gold. I'm not sure exactly the science behind it, but it works. And he has been hiding in plain sight the whole time. I called it. I knew he was in that statue. I do like it though. I mean, I didn't really call it. When you see so many episodes, you kind of realize what's going on. But we finally do switch to the present time. And we see him starting to unfreeze. And we do learn that Beyond already realized that she was Lady True's mother. And Lady True calls him dad. Like, it's a super sweet moment, right? Until it gets fully psychotic. And by psychotic, I mean Lady True. And everything about her. We will get to that slowly. And then the Millennium Clock actually turns on. So we've heard about this entire series. We're finally getting it to turn on. And we find out it is a cover for a mechanism to steal Dr. Manhattan's powers. And there was some specific centrifuge name to it. I just can't remember exactly what it was. But basically, it's to steal his powers. And they leave, and they all reconvene, basically, at the phone booth of Dr. Manhattan. We've seen in previous episodes of this. And By all, I mean all of them, including Adrian, including Lady True, Beyond, and the soul sealing thing. So, we are going to see more from that. But the end is nigh, right? But before it can happen, we have to switch to the abandoned warehouse, where the 7th Cavalry have Dr. Manhattan, and they also plan on stealing his powers. But there's quite a bit of Dr. Manhattan to go around. Trust me, I've seen it. So, boys, you will all be safe if you all want a little piece of him. But all of the evil, white, rich people are there. And even Keen Sr. shows up. And if you remember from the comic, he was the one who did initially do the Anti-Vigilante Act. So, this is his son. And they are all conglomerating inside while Lori watches. Obviously, she's still tied down. And Looking Glass does show up to help her. As expected, I think everybody kind of expected that little bit there. But Looking Glass came back to get a disc for proof. And we will get to that later. He wants the proof to get Ozzy in jail and everybody else. But we're not going to actually visit that again till the end. So it is worth mentioning when Angela is trying to find out where they took Cal, or Dr. Manhattan, she's breaking all the fingers. And I love it because it's like in Rorschach style. I like those little things they added in. But before I get into this next scene, I want to give a mild cringe warning. Because Senator Keen's speech, as he undresses into his favorite Dr. Manhattan panties, he talks about the liberal president. And we got a little bit of a cringe warning here. So it's not awful, but it is a little bit. It's a little extra. So he says, first he took our guns. And then he made us say sorry. Over and over again. Sorry for the alleged sins of those who died decades before us. Sorry for the color of our skin. All we wanted was to get cops in masks and take some of the power back. Start a culture war. The end game, obviously, was his presidency. I think the biggest cringe part to me was there relating to the culture war. But they do exaggerate both sides. Whether it's right or left, they exaggerate it to an extreme. So obviously we know, okay, it's a little bit making fun of you. Anyways, until the White Night, when Angela almost died, they had no idea who Dr. Manhattan was. Well, Cal's emergency reflexes sent out a 7K member to Gila Flats, New Mexico, which is where John is from. And that's how they finally figured out who Manhattan was, disguised as. And they also learned, also had Judd personally then definitely get close to the family. And for 3 years tried to figure out how to catch him. They had to melt down millions of watch batteries to make a cage that could hold him. The lithium in it is able to hold John, so they had to melt down millions. Then Angela walks in. She tells Keen to get out of this, to stop. Do not get in the cage. To not have this go forward. To not try to take John's powers. She is literally trying to save him. She warns him that Lady True has been one step ahead of them all the time. So like the Lady True things that we saw as far as when it came to 7K, it wasn't because they were in cahoots or anything. It was because she let them steal stuff. So, of course, they don't listen. Right. Because she's trying to save her husband. But again, she is trying to save them at the same time. So, they go ahead with the plan. And as soon as that switch flips, they are transported to where Lady True is. So, we're finally getting everybody together. And the fun begins. And by fun, I mean totally psychotic. Everyone and everything is transported. And Lady True and her big soul sucker are, they take all the guns first. And then they do, I do like the reunion when it comes to Lori and Adrian. I think they did a good job with that little, it was just a line of dialogue, but it was good enough. So we're going to get to, we just had Keen's, super cringy villain speech. And now we're going to have Lady True super villain speech. But she does ask about Senator Keene, and he is a puddle of human. And by puddle of human, I just mean he's gone. She begins by reading a paper from H.J. Will Reeves himself, talking about what they have done as far as the 7K to victimize and traumatize men, women, and children of color for years, eventually literally vaporizing all of them. It was such a good scene though, like, they're just figureheads, but it is really, like, really well done as far as shooting goes and everything. They're all dead. So remember when I said psychotic? I wasn't kidding. But Dr. Manhattan is able to use the puddle of man, so to speak, to transport Lori, Adrian, and Looking Glass to Karnak. And of course, this makes True pissy because she went through all that trouble to get her dad there, so she's not happy. But it doesn't matter. But this is kind of where my heart first started to break. Angela asked Dr. Manhattan why he didn't send her, right? He did not send her away, and he said he just didn't want to die alone. Like, I totally get that. That would be fucking terrifying. It would be awful. But it's really sad how this is going to play out. So as Dr. Manhattan is telling her that is when, I guess I did write it down. It's called a quantum centrifuge. The Soul Sucker starts. And we see back in Karnak, we've got Adrian, Looking Glass, and Lori. And to make a long story short, Adrian freezes the small squids and sends them on their way to Tulsa. They will literally obliterate everything within basically 5 square miles. And hopefully the Soul Sucker at the same time, getting rid of Lady True and preventing the real villain of the story, kind of villain, kind of just psycho lady, from actually getting godlike power. So, as all of this is happening, Angela refuses to leave Dr. Manhattan's side. And that's where it gets really bad. Like, this is where the tears started to come. So, she asks where he is. He says, I'm in every moment when we were together, all at once. I love you, and that is it. That is it! Like, he's so freaking sad, but he's gone. Like, okay. I can't get back into it. But then the transaction begins. So, True starts getting Dr. Manhattan's powers. It's starting to power up, at least, so she can get them. The God referencing shots were absolutely amazing. I really, really think the directorial part of this, the theatrics, were really well done. So, we see the squids start to come. And the first one hits her hand. And you just expect hail, right? No, they say hail. Like, it goes straight through her hands. It is awful. So Lori does get word to Angela to take cover because the frozen squids tear through everything. And anybody basically outside is dead at this point. The Soul Sucker is gone. And bye-bye. Lady True, she's dead too. So, Angela, on the other hand, like any good mama, only worries about her children. Remember them from the last issue? Yeah, she gets them, runs and gets to the movie theater, realizes that they are safe. Will has them safe, sound, and asleep. This was a really nice moment between them, to be honest. The way that they wrap things up here. So we learn that the whole thing was set up by Dr. Manhattan. They kind of helped each other, but yes, he did set it up. And this goes back to my beginning point. He asked when she put on his hood, when she was on Nostalgia as Hooded Justice, what she felt. And he said anger. But it wasn't. It was fear and hurt. You can heal under a mask, but wounds need air, right? So friends, life, love, all need communication. Anger hides something deeper, even in me. So that's why I think when it comes to something like this, you have to, like he says, the best way to put it is air it out. So he does go on to reference eggs again. So she said, he said that she'll get it when the time is right, and we'll get there. So Angela offers to let him stay with her, and then they head home. But back in contact, Adrian needs to get Looking Glass and Lori back to civilization, right? So we see Archie, the real Archie. I love it. And Lori then says, "You're coming with us." And he thinks it's a total joke. "You killed 3 million people. You are under arrest." And he's like, "Good one. You got me." Nope. That's the proof earlier that I was talking about that Wade went back for. So they now have the proof not only against him, enough to arrest him, and Robert Redford, the president. But Ozzy won't shut up in typical Ozzy fashion. So Looking Glass just knocks his ass out. And I actually knew this was coming. I just thought it was going to be earlier. Like, Looking Glass was so annoyed during the whole squid thing. So we are back at Angela's. In true Watchmen fashion, we get an egg. The egg! Remember that reference I said earlier? Well, she eats it. Watch the eggs, right? Does she walk or does she sink? I'll leave it entirely in your hands. I love how it ends just as the other one did because, like I said, I leave it entirely in your hands, right? We kind of had to decide at the end of the graphic novel whether Rorschach's journal got out, what happened. It was for us to theorize and talk and have discourse about what would happen if Rorschach's journal, got any validity behind it. So, will she walk or will she sink? I don't know. I kind of love how this ends. It is a big cliffhanger. I am hoping. I have mixed feelings. I don't want them to see them do a season 2 and have them ruin it. Though I will talk about that more in my, like I said, in my deep dive one. I'm going to do one more video about Watchmen, and hopefully that's it. I'm going to cover the podcast is the main thing I want to talk about. When you learn that Damon Lindelof pees sitting down, you got to talk about it, right? Like, oh, God. So another thing I do want to talk about in my other video is Rorschach's legacy was, I think it was actually pretty much respected. And at first I was exactly opposite of this. As far as little things as far as like beans go, or, Angela breaking fingers, or down to the very end when all Rorschach wanted to see was Ozzy come to justice. And that's what he finally got, right? So, not only that, but I do have a couple questions I want to talk about in my other video. Like, where did Dr. Manhattan's powers go? They were never transferred to Lady True, so they're just stored up. So I'm curious to see about a few things, so I'll talk about that in my next video. Well, it'll be later on this week. But let me know what you guys thought of this finale. I really did enjoy this series. Like, there was some cringe. I'm not gonna lie, there was some SJW undertones, but as a whole, you need to be a little bit uncomfortable when you watch or read Watchmen. And you were definitely a little uncomfortable in this. Let me know what you guys think. I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye. Hey, I want to give a huge shout out to my Subscribe Star and Patreons. You guys literally make this channel possible. Thank you so much, Sanjuro, Way Else One, BG Torrance, Black Knight Fool, Brucey, Grand Smear, Jeffrey Allen Carnes, Jeremy Burtz, Mike Buckner, Robert, and Timothy French. You guys are freaking amazing. Thank you so much, and make sure you like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.